Hello everybody, it's Matthew Street and welcome to my channel. As always, I appreciate you being here. And friends, I think you can relate to something. Think of something in your life that you've always enjoyed, has brought you happiness, is a lot of fun, makes you smile. And you love it because it's a recurring thing. It happens over and over and over again. But then you realize one day that this thing you love so much is coming towards an end. It has to end sometime. And the sadness you feel when that happens, you're like, oh, I've enjoyed it so much. It's been so much fun. What a ride. But it's coming to an end. I think you know the feeling. You can relate to that. Well, that's the way I'm feeling right now with the Beatles album series of books by Bruce Spizer. Oh my goodness, my friends, going back almost a decade now, Bruce has been producing books. They're 9-inch by 9-inch little bundles of joy in my world, let me tell you. The Beatles album series by Bruce Spizer has been so much fun. Looking forward to each new edition coming out. If you have any of these books, you know exactly what I'm talking about because Bruce, he's probably I'm going to say it. He's my favorite Beatles author. He's a historian, a writer. He's fun. He's got a great personality. He puts his spirit and his fun vibe into his books. And you can feel it coming off the pages, how much joy Bruce has for the material he's covering. And I just love his style so much. I just love it. And he started out, like I said, almost a decade ago with the first in the series, which was Sgt. Pepper. And then he went through all the later period Beatles albums first, kind of like what they're doing with the Beatles Deluxe Archive series. Later albums first, and then Bruce jumped back and he's been doing the early albums. The final installment is coming out. The 9th book in the series is coming out any moment now. It's available for pre-order. I will put the links below where you can get this great book. And here it is, folks. The Beatles for Sale to Help. The final installment in the Bruce Spizer album series, Beatles album series. Folks, I'm going to tell you all about this book. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bruce, but I just want to tell you and stress to you, if you've never checked out any of the Beatles album series, you need to. And if you don't have any of those, I have to assume that you have some of Bruce's earlier Beatles publications because they are second to none. I'm going to put some images here of all his past books here so you can see them. These are some of the most well-researched, highly detailed, interesting, page-turning. You're addicted to turning page after page and reading and looking at the wonderful images and graphics and the detailed information that he puts into his books about the Beatles. As I said, no one can beat it, folks. These books are like mandatory if you're a Beatles fan. Any of the Bruce Spizer books about them on the Apple label, the Beatles on solo on Apple, the Beatles on Capitol, the Beatles on Parlophone, the Beatles on VJ, the Beatles on Swan, and all the other labels like Tolly and all those. He covers it all. Probably my favorite book in the series is the one he did called The Beatles Are Coming, and it's all about the Beatles and their takeover of America, the United States in early 1964, and what led up to that. You know, how much work went into the Beatles making their first arrival into the States and everything surrounding that. That's probably my favorite Bruce Spizer book of all time as one single book, but as a series of books, it's definitely the Beatles album series. And this latest one is absolutely wonderful, folks. Now, Bruce is a first-generation fan. He's not only an author and a great writer, but he's an attorney and an accountant by day. Well, kind of like a superhero. I'm an accountant and an attorney by day, but at night I'm Super Beatle or Super Beatles author. Okay, he's from New Orleans area. And like I said, he's been an author of so many critically acclaimed Beatles books. These aren't just fan favorites. Anyone who's reviewed any of his books gives them highest praise, top-notch ratings. And also I should mention, Bruce is a consultant, or has been and will be, I'm sure, on many Beatles projects. The most recent I can think of was like a year or so ago on the Beatles US album mono vinyl box set series. About that box set. I showed you mine not too long ago if you watch my videos. And Bruce was a highly sought out consultant for that project. So this man knows his stuff, and the powers that be in the Beatles world know he knows his stuff, and he puts a lot of love, TLC, into his projects involving the Beatles. Because like I said, first generation fan, he's one of us folks. He's been there, he is there, and he knows what it's all about. Now, this book, Beatles for Sale to Help, is put out by 498 Productions. Like I said, it's Bruce's 9th book in the series. It's the final installment. I hate even saying that word, but it is the final installment into this series. It covers November 64 all the way up to the summer of 1965. Now, you have to figure that was a period of time where the Beatles put out 2 full official Beatles albums that they wanted, Beatles for Sale and Help in the UK and the rest of the world. But we also got the Help movie during that period, and we're now celebrating the 60th anniversary of Help. Speaking of which, is a cover of the US soundtrack Help album. And we also had other US reconfigured albums by Capitol at that time, the Help soundtrack. We had Beatles 65, we had Beatles 6. Early in this period that the book covers is when that Beatles Story documentary album came out, double album came out, so that's included in this book. Again, so much detail in this book, folks. You're not going to believe it. You're talking all about the recording sessions, but more so than the recording sessions, and about all those albums I've mentioned coming out and what went behind them and the impetus for some of them, especially the US albums. But Bruce goes well beyond just the Beatles music. He goes into the news of the day in chapters in this book. What was happening around that time period that these albums and this material came out? He talks about the music, other music of the era, popular music. He talks about the films of that era covered in each of these books. There is a special chapter in this book about the Beatles and James Bond and the connection between those two. Very, very interesting. Check that out. But one of the most fun parts of Bruce's books, and he always includes it in these books, is the fan recollections. So much fun to read what fans think of that era and what albums like Help, Beatles for Sale, Beatles 6 if you're from the US, Beatles 65, etc., what they meant to all the fans. Fun stuff to read the fan recollections. Probably one of my favorite parts of his books. This is a great book. This final one, the installment, is very significant, however, because it's basically covering that period that bridges the Beatles at a very important time, bridges their career from the early mop-top Beatles over to that more mature-sounding, album-orientated Rubber Soul, Revolver Beatles, and beyond. This book is the bridge. The music on here contained therein is that bridge. Mop tops to just total music domination and never looking back. So for that alone, this book is absolutely essential. Now, you got the standard hardcover edition of this book, but then you have one I suggest you get that I have right here, which is the collector's edition. Why is the collector's edition much more fun, in my opinion? Well, the book itself is just great, but the collector's edition is great because it's limited to only 500 copies, and it comes in a slip case, as you can see. All right, you get a beautiful slip cover, and then there, nice, highly glossy, hardcover, detailed book, and it's signed and numbered by Bruce and includes extra goodies inside, and I'm going to show you. So you open it up, and the first thing you notice is you get a beautiful bookmark. with the album covers on it. I love that. Very nice. And you get poster number 1. This is great. Again, these are all goodies are only included in the collector's edition, folks. So I suggest you grab one before they do sell out. And then the second poster is a little bigger than the first poster. That first one was beautiful, but this one is a nice cornucopia image of all the albums from the period covered in this book, which is absolutely wonderful in my humble opinion. Look at that beauty. What a beautiful poster. Suitable for framing on your wall, folks. And all the Bruce Spizer books, collector's editions, have these goodies and extras in them. I have all of them, and they're absolutely wonderful. And then the book itself, as I said, if you have the collector's edition, it's signed and numbered. And there's mine, 300 out of 500. So there's plenty left, folks, hopefully. Go get one. And there, I'll leave that note there that Bruce wrote to me if you want to read it. Beautiful, let me read it to you. To Matthew Street. There's more here than meets the eye. Who remembers that scene from Help? Thanks for your help in letting Beatles fans know about my books. Oh, Bruce, I'm happy to. Bruce Spizer, June of 2025. Because I've done numerous videos about Bruce's books since I've been here on YouTube. And I have a playlist. I'm going to add this video to that playlist. I have a Bruce Spizer Beatles playlist. So go check it out. All the videos I've done talking about, I haven't done videos on every one of his books, but as books have come out or I've gone back to other books, I've done videos about them. So go check out that playlist and you can see what I have included there. But folks, I could never go through the whole thing with you. I will just tell you that there's a nice picture of Bruce in a Shea Stadium jacket there. Folks, I can tell you that these books are so well done. High stock quality, glossy paper. The binding is the best I've ever seen. It's just beautiful binding on these books. They're never going to fall apart on you, no matter how much you pick them up and read them and open them and whatnot. Beatles' next album. But the detail put in here, not only the great writing style of Bruce Spizer and the great research he's done into these books, but the images, the amount of memorabilia, labels, promo materials, images of the Beatles themselves included. I've never seen anything like it, folks. I've never seen somebody put so much time, effort, their heart and soul into a project like Bruce does. And he's absolutely amazing. And he wears his love for this band on his sleeve. He does. Because you have to be a true fan to do something this detailed and this wonderful. Again, I could never go through it all with you folks. I'm just trying to pick out some things here and there that I happen to see that I think you'd enjoy seeing. But all I can tell you is you'll just be flabbergasted and have so much fun going through this book, folks. It's absolutely wonderful. Beautiful images, rare images, some I'm not familiar with at all. I mean, Bruce he really does an outstanding job. And again, a couple more, and then I unfortunately, I wish I could show you the whole book, folks, but it's just not possible. Not possible. But, folks, let me just say, the Beatles for Sale to Help is a wonderful, wonderful book. I am so happy to have it as part of my collection. I have them all now. And folks, I'm going to put the link below. I really think you need to check out this new Bruce Spizer book. And I know in the beginning I was being a little down, oh, something I love is coming to an end. Well, the Bruce Spizer album series is coming to an end. He's released the 9 books now, and this being the final one in that series. However, I think Bruce has more up his sleeve. If I know Bruce Spizer and how much he loves the Beatles and how emotional and passionate he is about what he does, something tells me Bruce has got some other things coming down the pike for us. I just have that feeling. I have a good feeling about it. So folks, let's enjoy this new book, Beatles for Sale to Help, and let's enjoy what's to come down the road from the great author, Beatles noted author and historian, Bruce Spizer. Thank you so much for being here. Check out the link to this book below. grab yourself a copy and come back and tell me what you think of it. If you're getting this book or if you have some of the other Bruce Spizer books, please come back and talk to me about it. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on Bruce and his books because they're some of my favorite Beatles books of all time. Thanks again, everybody. Love you all. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you think of it, I'd appreciate it. It helps my channel growth, and I really love creating content like this for you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. And Bruce, we love you. Thank you so much for what you've given us in the world of the Beatles. Bye-bye.